Fair enough. Fine by me.
You're 12. Hey, Kenneth.
Yeah.
It's his birthday.
Yeah. Happy birthday. What did I not just say?
Don't be rude. Say happy birthday now.
12?
Did you just say 8?
8?
What is that?
He's in 3rd grade now.
I was confused.
I go to 3rd grade. Actually, I'm pretty sure that'd be 2nd. No.
No. It would be end of 2nd, beginning of 3rd. Depends on when the birthday is.
First, still 2nd.
Or 3rd.
It's the beginning of 3rd, end of 2nd, so it's still 2nd.
You're gonna argue with me? It depends on when your birthday is. Or if their birthday already passed.
Then it would be 2nd.
No.
If their birthday passed.
I mean, if it hasn't passed.
It depends what year you're in.
It does. That's what I'm
But
saying.
you went through 2nd as an 8-year-old. Technically.
Well, you're correcting me on saying 3rd when I potentially could be correct. You are also potentially correct. It depends on when the birthday is.
When I was 8 years old, I was
There's no way I was a
See, I was in 3rd, I
9-year-old.
think.
There's no way I was a 9-year-old in 4th grade.
no.
Yeah.
Actually, yes. Wait,
Yeah, you definitely. I mean, maybe.
9 to 10.
I don't know when your
10.
birthday
No,
is.
you were 9. You're 9.
I was 9.
When is your birthday in like the middle of the school year, the end of the school year, or the
His
beginning of the
birthday's
school year?
middle.
In the middle? Alright, then you're 2 ages throughout the school year, right? You're not just like 9 the entire way through, or 10 years. You have a birthday right in the middle. Which means that, like, 1st grade you're like 6, 7, then 2nd grade you'd be 7, 8, 3rd grade you'd be 8, 9, and so on.
It's like they treat you different. Like one
Yeah.
day. One day they treat you
They don't treat you like a 30-year-old.
I don't get treated like a 30-year-old.
Coming from experience of being a 32-year-old,
I don't want to be treated like a
No.
30-year-old.
you know, I shouldn't. No, you got a mom cut.
I like to cut cheap.
Yeah. That's what I said.
Yeah, I meant to send out a text. A lot of things are. Oh,
Did you like send them all to the corner?
no, because there's the 2 nicest chairs back there. That's why they sat back there.
Maybe they were all in trouble over there.
No,
This was arguing.
that is a troublemaker corner though.
And then Kenneth is complaining about the distance.
The good kids sit right up front.
Oh, then I should leave.
Right.
Yeah.
I just feel like out of the room, like even Sunday, the table is right there, even though no one sits there. Just seems like
Unless you count.
people are close. People are further away here.
I'm a black belt.
I mean, swinging. What kind of
US. I have a dream that Republicans will one day win California.
I have some pretty weird dreams.
Did you see the statistics of those people? It was like 93.
Florida's a swing state.
And like
Yeah.
7%.
California is definitely not a swing state.
No. You can count on California, New York, Washington, Minnesota. Oh, yeah.
Trump has to win Nevada and everything else to be elected.
Not everything else. He just needs to win. Yeah.
Trump needs to win.
If not, they'll find it.
Nevada, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia. Those are the ones he has to win. Alaska is out there still, but
Alaska's only worth 3.
Yeah.
Alaska voted for 90 years ago.
but it's actually
Joe Biden has 3 million more votes than Trump does.
it's actually interesting that our topic is kind of ironic with what's going on. Did not plan it this way either. Happenstance.
Too bad that 3 million means nothing.
We're not gonna share our political view, but I'm pretty sure it's all
Okay, how
the
many
same.
knows he has? It doesn't mean nothing.
Well, it's all about the electoral college. But there's an image.
Probably the smartest in the United States of anybody.
Biden is not that far away
If there
from
wasn't
winning
an
Georgia.
electoral college, they would spend all their campaign
No, I
money
agree that there should be
at
something
New
else,
York,
but like, I just feel like it could be
California,
better.
and
And I feel like, I agree that there needs to be like a system other than just like popular vote, but like, I feel like it could be better.
Well, I'm saying, how can it be better? If you propose that, you just shout an idea.
Trying to build it.
The main issue with what's going on right now is just the how we handle the mail-in ballots. That's where the issue comes in, because how it should operate is second Tuesday.
Because no
First.
one knows the legitimacy of it.
Yeah. First two. I thought it was the second Tuesday. I always thought it was the second Tuesday of November. Whatever the election, it's either first or second. When the election comes around midnight on election day, you should know who the voter is, or who the president, or who the 11:59. No, I'm just saying the perfect scenario. What should happen is, 11:59 on election night should be when you know who won. That's how anything operates.
So tomorrow we'll get the announcement saying that child's fake.
No. The way it's working right now, we may not know until a week or two. By early next week.
That's 'cause all the
Late this
northern
week.
states had to do like missing mailings.
Yeah. That's the problem.
Well,
So,
they didn't have to, they chose.
well, if they did,
Well, they
And
had
it's-
the highest COVID cases.
and it's okay if they
They
did,
just don't chose to do it. They
Uh,
don't know how many COVID cases you actually
they
used
can-
to mail in.
they should have opened it up at a given time and shut it off, just like early voting. Opened up on the 13th, ended on the 30th. And if your ballot is not in on the 30th, it should not have counted. It should not. It doesn't matter if it's election day is on the 2nd, 3rd. That's just like early voting. Boom, done. And that way they can even start counting early, just so we can make sure everything's, done by 11:59.
Well, what's weird to me is last night when I went to sleep is when they said that they were gonna stop counting the votes, right? They were gonna resume in the morning. So I went to sleep, And I wake up in the morning and somehow Joe Biden had like 200,000 more votes within like 30 minutes. And I was like, how did this happen? That's what's sketchy to me.
It's,
I don't think they should have mail-in votes at all. Because mail-in, somebody has to count them, a person. It's not counted electronically. It's not.
or have a better way of doing it.
Yeah.
Like we do with Scantron on test. There's got to be a way in order for it to make sense. You got to be kidding me. I love life. I really do. I love it. Happy to go look at
The only people who ever get mad at the electoral college is whoever loses.
Hillary is worse than Biden.
Because
You
it's
can't
because,
lose if you're not on the side.
you know what I'm saying? That's the only people who every year who get mad at electoral college. Whoever loses like,
Biden
oh,
may
electoral
have,
college.
or accused of having dementia, but Hillary is a whole nother thing.
Okay, but we're all underage to vote, so why does it matter?
Because it's politics.
How old are you?
If you want
I could
a
have
law
voted.
degree
If
in
you're looking at
politics, then you better start talking about politics, because you don't probably. I don't either.
So
but
because you're
I'm-
underage to vote means you can't have an opinion and voice it to other people?
I am, but like, there's no point in saying.
Yeah,
There is a
you
point.
weren't. Your say does a lot of things.
That's like an 8-year-old. That's like an 8-year-old coming to church and saying, "Whoa, what point is there to come to church? You're too young to understand."
Everybody on your social media is like under 18.
How?
Like,
You're talking about Jesus
I'm
Christ,
not
you're
allowed
talking
to have
about random
social media
person.
until I'm 18.
They're not a random person. They're in charge of the
I'm not allowed to have
United
social media
States.
until I'm
Not
18.
till they get elected.
Okay, that's might be a good thing.
All social media I have is Pinterest. It's not even my account, it's my mom's.
Pinterest is good. I like Pinterest.
It's
There's a
like
lot of
years
things on
Trump was
Pinterest.
Yes.
before. It's not.
You can look up whatever you
No,
want.
it used to be.
It's like Instagram, just not
Literally
really pictures of your friends.
Never used to be.
Random people.
Biden's the double president, but he still has 8 years.
Basically saying, do you like my hair? Pin it.
Or Obama.
I don't know. I just want it to be over. I just want to know at this point.
Biden simply like wants to just be like electric cars and stuff. It's gonna be like that. It's not gonna. He isn't gonna be like that right away. It's gonna take him like 3 years to get how he wants it. So my mom said.
I didn't know. I didn't hear what you said.
Something about electrical cars.
She's worse than
She's scared.
She is scared.
Joe Biden, he's not the smartest, but Kamala Harris, I don't know. She's
I think children say. No.
So, does it feel good in here? Yeah, they had the,
You're not a friend.
huh?
You're not a friend, sorry.
I know, I'm high talent down
What
there.
did you do that made you go out of breath, Kenny?
I know I'm out of shape. I mean, there's no,
What did you have to do?
oh no, I was walking as fast as I could
You
down.
said you would bring candy.
She's right.
She's got a point there.
Blame. No, I'm not gonna say it. We have not sorted through the candy that we have at the house for us to bring candy.
The third time you said, I'm not gonna say it.
Well, I was gonna, never mind, I'm not gonna do it. So, couple things to get us started. First of all, it is James's birthday today. So we're gonna sing him happy birthday before he gets started in class.
He's 8 years old.
Yeah, total of 8 years. All right, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear James. Happy birthday to you. All right, couple of things. November the 8th, Sunday, we're having a devotional here at the church building. I'll send out a time. I'm pretty sure 6, could be 6:30. Don't quote me. 6:30. Bring your own food, and we'll have a devotional time, and then we'll have some time to sing or to play games afterwards. Probably gonna be something simple, maybe like 9 square or something like that. Yeah. All right. Then on November the 15th, we're having a filming session, hopefully, Lord willing. I'll have to get with Stephen just to kind of verify and make sure. But the 8th is Devo, 15th is filming, and the 18th is our last, in this series is our last class of the series. The week of Thanksgiving, I'll send out information on what that's going to look like, but we'll kind of cross that road when we get there. So November the 19th, baby Pinkley will arrive 19th, 20th. Yes. So we're not exactly sure. We're going to the hospital on the 19th. He'll come maybe on the 20th, Lord willing. So if Jennifer and I are a little scatterbrained, and well, you'll only see me, but if I'm not all there, and you start to see a whole lot of gray hairs, that's why. But the 20th is hopefully when he's going to come, and no issues. So be praying for that and for our sanity. As was mentioned, again, we'll work on our plan for Bible Bowl towards the tomorrow or Friday. Just make sure we get everything coordinated of what we want to do, how we're going to do it. All the tests are going to be finalized here this week. And then we'll work on what we're doing, how that's going to work, Bible study sessions and things like that. So we'll start those hopefully soon, but we'll put together something and propose that soon. All right, said all that to get into tonight. So one of the things, and I was telling some, I don't know who all heard, but the topic for tonight's class is completely ironic because I didn't think all the way through to plan it, plan out this way. So it wasn't something premeditated, just completely happenstance. So tonight we're going to look at, again, heroes of faith. And specifically, we're going to really kind of look at two. I was going to just do one, but I think two of them kind of tie hand in hand. So we're going to look at both of them. And we're looking at them as leaders of Israel. So we just had an election last night, all day for the last few months. You've been seeing campaign ads after campaign ads. You've seen presidential debates, vice president debates. If your parents are news junkies, then that's all you're talking about for the longest time is election. And it came to an end ish last night. Now we got to tally all the ballots, and here soon we'll have someone in the White House, possibly the same, someone different, and we just won't know until a day or two or a week. So, having said all that, when we look at this concept of a leader, what are some things that you look at? Like, let's imagine you all being 18 years of age, and you've just seen a presidential debate, or someone that you're looking for in a president. What are some qualities? Don't say a name or anything like that, but just qualities. I don't want to know candidates. It's not this type of class, but qualities, characteristics, or something that you would look for in a leader of a country. Yeah. Somewhat smart. Okay. Good speaking skills. Okay. Okay. Trustworthy. Initiative. Good one. Okay. Christianity. And I think you can pivot. I know in a Bible class, that's something that we as Christians look for. But I think generalizing that outward, I think having one with moral standard is something that makes a good leader. So I think everyone looks to someone like that, someone with good morals, or morals that may be aligning with how they believe. That's a good one. Anybody else? Courage? You think it takes courage to be a leader? And maybe I set this question up because we are dealing with the leader of the nation, and there is some things that he does, like Obama making the call to go into Pakistan to go after Osama bin Laden. That takes guts. Bush to go into and invade Iraq and then Afghanistan does take guts to do that. Dwight D. Eisenhower, as he was going into World War II. Hopefully I got that right. I'm not a big history guy, but it takes guts to be able to do that. Oh man, Prime Minister during World War II in England. Not Taft. He was a heavyset guy. There was a movie made about him recently. Maybe it just escaped. Yeah, lost it. But him dealing with Germany on the forefront. There is some courageous aspects in there that comes into play. What about this kind of ties in with Jazz's answer about Christianity or morals, but what about one that cares for the people? Right, you kind of want that. Someone who looks after the needs of the people. Being a lieutenant in the Army, one of the things that my guys, my soldiers told me, and how I was different than other people was I would periodically go out there with my men, and I would be there with them. And I would go and talk to them, make sure they felt good. Whenever my right-hand man, my platoon sergeant, would go out into the maintenance yard, most of the time I was right there with them. When we went to training and had a maintenance element doing something there, I had another unit doing some improvement at the lakeside. I would go down to the maintenance bay. As a matter of fact, I did this because I wanted to see what was going on the construction side. But they didn't give me keys because they don't have keys. But they let me get into a dump truck, or not a dump truck, a skid steer. And it was like, hey, just take it for a spin, sir. And I was just driving around, and so I did that for that. But anyways, I was out there with my guys. So you want to know and understand the people that you're in charge of, to know their wants, know their needs, in order to understand how they operate. Because when you're downrange, things can happen very quickly. So a leader is one that gets to know their guys. Any other characteristics that you can think of? So to pivot off that, who is when you think of a good leader, who do you think of? Elders? Anyone in particular? Grant? Mm-hmm. Yeah. All of which, working closely to them, all of which care a lot about the people that they shepherd to, the church here. What about outside of the church? I was waiting for Reagan. Reagan was good. FDR. You can even go back to Washington, right? To him leading and starting, the forefathers and starting our country. So we know and understand a good leader. What about in biblical times? Okay. He's actually going to be the last one that we talk about as a hero. But he's a good leader. Other than him and the 12 apostles. Moses, right? David. Okay. You know, tonight we're going to look at two, Moses being one of them. And the reason why Moses kind of is the one I first thought of, because, you know, pretty much from picking up in Exodus and going through Deuteronomy, he's leading the people and right there with them, going through and taking care of, you know, millions of people as they're going through. And it's not something that was easy because they're mostly nomadic during that time. Going from, you know, Egypt, wandering in the wilderness for 40 years and having to deal with that and you know, not having a true solid home, packing up, moving. So it was a pretty, you know, tremendous feat for Moses, to lead these people, and not even just that's enough in and of itself, but to make sure and to look after their spiritual well-being and this communication he had with God and seeing everything that was going on. So Moses is one of the ones that we're going to talk about tonight. The other one, it picks up after Moses and goes into leading them over into the promised land and Joshua and that battle hardened the battlefield that he had to approach with all this multitude as they go into Canaan in order to conquer it and to win their land. And so those are the two that we're going to look at. Really, we're going to look at just a couple simple points. And I think it's some applications that we can pull from, and just may not be anything new for some. But I think something that we can, you know, at least, you know, understand in our life and day and age and take home. First, if you have your Bibles, turn with me to Exodus chapter 3. That's where we're going to spend our time. Really, Exodus 3, Exodus 20, and Numbers and Joshua, the books that we're going to look at. Not all of them in depth, but some of the ones that we're going to look at. In Exodus chapter 3, so when Moses was born, and he goes into the basket into the river. He's picked up by Pharaoh's daughter, lives with within the Pharaoh's house, learned the Egyptian ways, was taught by his mother, and then he's brought up in Egypt. He kills an Egyptian, flees. That's where we pick him up. And in Exodus chapter 3, he's out there shepherding a flock, and he sees a burning bush, one that's not being burnt up. And he goes over to this and begins to have this conversation with God. And we'll pick up in verse 13, and then we'll jump into chapter 4. When God says, look, I'm giving you a task. I want you to lead my people out of Egypt. The very first thing Moses does is what leaders should never do. Starts making excuses. And in verse 13, then Moses said to God, if I come to the people of Israel and say to them, the God of your fathers has sent me to you, and they ask me, what is his name? What shall I say to them? And then God says to Moses, I am who I am. And he said, say this to the people of Israel, I am has sent me to you. And so God kind of keeps going on and says, look, I am the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, and I am the one who has sent you to the people and to lead them out. So the very first thing Moses does is says, look, what am I going to say when I go into the people and say, look, I'm here to lead you out? What is my response? Who are you? Who's sending you? And the very first thing is he's like, I really don't want to do this. So he starts making these excuses. And we see, like I said, jump down to chapter 4. This is after God is telling him what to do and going over into a certain place. Verse 1 of chapter 4. Then Moses answered, but behold, they will not believe me or listen to my voice, for they will say, the Lord did not appear to you. And so the Lord says, okay, if that's the case, what's in your hand? a staff, and he says, throw it on the ground and it becomes a serpent. If you go down and pick it up, it becomes a staff. And so Moses says, look, they're not going to believe me that I've talked to God. He hasn't appeared to you. So it's not realistic. They won't believe me. So he starts starting to make all these different excuses. We start looking at verse 10. Chapter 4, but Moses said to the Lord, "O my Lord, I am not eloquent either in the past or since you have spoken to your servant, but I am slow of speech and of tongue." And then the Lord said to him, "Who has made man's mouth? Who makes him mute or deaf and seeing or blind? Is it not I, the Lord? Now therefore go, and I will be with your mouth and teach you what you shall speak." But he said again, "O my Lord, please send someone else." Moses did not want to lead this charge. He didn't feel adequate. He started making excuses. When you look at someone that is a leader, you want someone that has confidence in their abilities. You want someone that exudes confidence in who they are. They know themselves. They don't want someone that is timid, because timidity, I think that's a word, right? Timidity is something that shows weakness. They symbolize weakness with someone who's timid. And so when we look at someone who's a leader, we don't want someone who's timid. We want someone who has confidence. But Moses didn't assume confidence. He's like, I don't want to do this. They're not going to believe me. I'm not very well in my speech. I don't speak very well. And so beginning this, Moses starts off with, these excuses. And then eventually the anger within God kindles. And he says, "Oh, fine, I'll send Aaron with you, your brother, the Levite, and he shall speak on your behalf." And so Moses then accepts this charge to be a leader. And he, throughout his life, becomes one of the greatest leaders in our country, in the Israelite nation. And so one of the things I first see when I look at Moses as a leader, one of the things that he was shy upon, and one of the things that we should be careful with, is making excuses. When someone says, "I think you could do something. I think that you can speak at a Devo. I think you can lead songs at a Devo. I think that you can teach a class. And I think that you can do great and wonderful and marvelous things. I think you can do those things." And we shouldn't say, "I'm not ready for that. I don't think and we start making excuses. We say, "Hey, you need to go and teach and spread the gospel. I don't think I'm ready for that. What if they ask me something? I just don't know. I'm scared of what people may think of what I say." And so we too often make excuses, right? When we're thrust into some type of leadership role, or we're trying to do something that may be out of our comfort zone. Leaders accept challenges in our life. The other thing, flip over to Exodus chapter 20. There are plenty of other examples that we can pull from. Like I said, I wanted to pull from two. Because we got some things to kind of do here. So in Exodus chapter 20, if I can flip there fast enough, Exodus chapter 20, we pick up the nation of Israel as they're coming out of this, out of the nation of Egypt, and they're going over into this. Crossing the Red Sea, they come over to Mount Sinai, and they see go up there and get these 10 commandments. And what's interesting here, and the reason why I kind of picked this chapter, is because there's a couple of things that happen here. First of all, a leader speaks, leads us to safety. He looks after our needs. He begins to see what they need to do, and they start to instill upon them different laws and things that they think is right. And this happens to be all the laws and things that God has put in place, and things that we need to examine. So he goes up on Mount Sinai. He receives the 10 commandments on the tablets written in stone. And then he goes down to the people in Exodus chapter 32. And when he receives the 10 Commandments and he goes down to the people, we see the people have decided to make themselves an altar. They have thought Moses has been killed on the mountain. He hasn't come down to them. And so in Exodus chapter 32, the verse 1, when the people saw that Moses delayed to come down from the mountain, the people gathered themselves together to Aaron and said to him, make us gods who shall go before us. As for this Moses, the man who brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we do not know what has become of him. And Aaron said to them, take off the rings of gold that are in your ears of your wives, your sons, and your daughters, and bring them to me. So all the people took off the rings of gold that were in their ears and brought them to Aaron, and received their gold from their hand, and fashioned it with a graving tool and made a golden calf. A leader is one that doesn't give in, and we'll see this again with Joshua. A leader is one that doesn't give in to the pressure of leading the people. The nation comes to Aaron, look, we don't know what happened to your brother. He hasn't come back. Make for us a god. Gather all the gold, and then he fashions to them a golden calf. And we see as we continue reading down through this section of Exodus chapter 32, Moses comes down off the mountain and begins to see what all was going on, and he begins to punish the people of Israel. Sometimes a good leader punishes those who don't obey. A good leader puts in place punishment or some type of disciplinary action for things that you have done wrong. It's uncomfortable, but a good leader will do that. He tore up this golden calf, broke it down into pieces, and ended up putting it into the water and making them drink of this. Verse 20, took the calf that they had made and burned it with fire and ground it to a powder, scattered it in the water, and made the people of Israel drink of it, because they have sinned and transgressed against God. They broke the laws of God, the nation that they were building. And so sometimes as a good leader, one of the reasons why Moses was on this list is because even though he started off as one that was timid, with the confidence, with God being behind him, it gave him confidence. With him knowing that God is on his side, gave him confidence to know that this is what is right. God wants us to do these things. And when you don't do these things, you're going to be punished. So sometimes leaders have to do that. One of the things that the elders, we don't do this, we don't look forward to this, but one of the things that elders have to do on occasion, very rare, is to disfellowship with people. In my 32 years of life, I've only seen it done one time, or heard, not even see it, I've heard about it one time. And it breaks hearts, it breaks churches, it really does a lot of damage. But sometimes you have to have a disciplinary action, and it's done by God. The Lord has described it in Matthew. Sometimes leaders have to do that. Sometimes teachers have to do that and make sure that you're paying attention. You, at some point in your life, will have to make decisions, and there's going to be a consequence on your actions. And sometimes when you grow up a little bit older than that, you're going to have to discipline someone else, depending on your position in your work. So a good leader is one that will make decisions based in God. And if those decisions are contrary to what God says, you have to act on that. So Moses is one that is a good leader, one that we can look to. The next one is Joshua. And I say Joshua, mostly he was a younger man when he first started. We're going to look at him as a young man, and then we're going to flip back to when he was an old man. Numbers chapter 13 is where we're going to first look at him. The reason why I picked this chapter and looking at him is because sometimes leaders has to stand up against the crowd. You don't want a leader who's wishy-washy. They're this way with that one person, and then there's someone completely different with another person. And Not going to do it. And they flip flop on one way or another. And maybe you can think of something or somebody who's like that. And I think there's a lot of people out there who I can come to mind that are similar to that. They're one way with one person or another way with someone else. But a good leader understands what's at stake, and they're going to stay true to their true values. And Joshua and Caleb, when they were put into a really rough, tough situation, they held true to their values. They held true in their belief and in their faith in God. And we as Christians have to realize that we have faith that goes beyond who sits in the White House. We need to have faith beyond those who own the House or who own the Senate or who own the courts, and understand that we have someone at higher power and that we need to obey him. And I think going back to first century is one of the things I thought of today as I was just kind of wrapping my mind around everything that was going on. When you look at the first century and who the Christians had to deal with, who was over top of them, it was Emperor Nero, burning Christians as birthday candles, lighting them, putting tar or some burning substance on their bodies and putting them on stakes and lighting the city streets, thinking it was entertaining to throw Christians into a pit with a lion or lighting them on fire. They didn't always get what they wanted. And I think sometimes we need to realize is sometimes we're not going to get what we want, and we haven't been persecuted like they have. And so we as Christians need to realize that if we're going to be a leader for God and one that is going to stand up for what is right, sometimes people around us are not going to want us to stand up. And we need to stand firm. When we look at the spies sent into Canaan, we know the story, again, one that we can see. The spies go into the land. They see how beautiful it is. They see the land that flows with milk and honey, but they also see giants, men of war, all these different things. And verse 30 of chapter 13, this is after the report, and all the other spies are saying, look what's going on. There's giants. We can't do this. So let's go back home. Verse 30, but Caleb quieted the people before Moses and said, let us go up at once and occupy it, for we are well able to overcome it. Then the men who had gone up with him said, we are not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we are. So they brought to the people of Israel a bad report of the land that they had spied out, saying, the land though which we have gone in to spy out is a land that devours its inhabitants, and all the people that we saw it are great height. And there we saw the Nephilim, the sons of Anak, who came from the Nephilim, and we seemed to ourselves like grasshoppers, and so we seemed to them. And so Caleb and Joshua never wavered on their decision. Hey, we can take this land. We can do great things. That's why after hearing all this, God says, look, for those who are 40 and over, y'all are going to wander the wilderness for 40 years. And if you're 40 and over, you're not going to make it into the promised land because you have defied me. You have not believed in me. You have not had faith in me. But Joshua and Caleb, you will survive that entire time. Faith is one that's going to stand up for God despite the situation that is around us. And so we have to understand that Joshua is on this list because Joshua and Caleb are on this list because they did that very thing. 12 other people are around them saying, look, no, we can't take this land. They're giants. They're strong. They got huge walls and castles and all this and that and the other. There's strongholds everywhere. We can't do this. But Caleb and Joshua said, no, we can. We have God on our side. We can do this great and wonderful thing. And then that same idea stems over to Joshua's life, and we'll look towards the end of his life, and this will be the last point that we make. Joshua 24. I love this verse. It's written on our walls at the house. It's on the front. Before they put the drywall up, it's on our front door, the surround around it. Joshua 24, starting in verse 14. Joshua called all the people, it's toward the end of his life. Joshua called all the people together, and he makes this bold statement. And in verse 14, now therefore fear the Lord and serve him in sincerity and in faithfulness. Put away the gods that your fathers served beyond the river and in Egypt, and serve the Lord. And if it is evil in your eyes to serve the Lord, choose this day whom you will serve, whether the gods your father served in the region beyond the river, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. There was no waver in Joshua in who he was going to serve. A leader doesn't waver from one way or the other. He stays true to his values. He stays true to his moral expectation of what he has set before us. Joshua is a hero. There's other verses that we can pull to of how he was able to conquer this great land, but he was a hero because he never wavered. When we look at these two heroes of faith and the reason why they're on the list and how we can apply it to our life is we got to ask ourselves, who are we allowing to lead us? And I think we have to realize that, I think sometimes we allow worldly people to lead us. Maybe unbeknownst to us, we allow it. And so we have to understand, are we allowing a true leader of God to be able to lead us to him? Are we fully committed to the elders and the leadership here at Weber Road to lead us to a relationship with God, to allow them to shepherd us and to guide us? So the question is who are we following? Who are we allowing to dictate the majority of our life? And the other question that I have, the other thought is, who are you leading? Are you leading others closer to God? Or are you leading others further away from God? I know I've said this before, and I know you guys have heard it and understand it. Whether you know it or whether you don't know it, you're a role model to somebody. And when you think about that, what is that person seeing when they look to you? Are they seeing someone like Moses and Joshua? Or are they seeing, in the story that we read about tonight, the case of Aaron, wishy-washy? You have to make the decision of what you're doing, and if you don't like that answer, you can adjust and make adjustments in your life. And if we can help, let us know. I think you guys are awesome, by the way. I haven't said that very often lately, but we only got a few more minutes left. But even you who are online, sorry, I keep thinking. Anyways, you who are online, but you guys are awesome, and I'm proud of you. Love you a lot. Miss you guys. Wish we could do a whole lot more, like we were doing previously. So if I haven't said it lately, I love you. I love you. Just know that. We'll end with a prayer, and then we'll be dismissed. First time, actually, a little bit on time. So, Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for all the things that you do for us. We thank you for this opportunity to learn about the leaders of Israel as they were exiting and as they were entering into your promised land, Lord. We thank you for Moses and Joshua, the lives that they lived, the example they gave us. And Lord, as we try to be an example and be a leader, help us to stick to your word, to stand on your promises and understand that you are always there with us. And Lord, we love you so very much. And Lord, we pray you should be with those who are in who are governing us in America. Lord, I pray that you guide and direct them and help us to better serve you and turn to a relationship with you. We'd love